I have Trey Lance joining me in an hour. You told me a story about you chit-chatting with Trey Lance and how that came about. I'm going to ask him about it later on because I'm going to elicit the story from you now. Please share with the audience your interactions personally with Trey Lance. Daniel.
Yeah, I mean, look, Rich, if I could, I would spend time one-on-one with all of these kids. And it used to be easier to do when we were out and going to pro days, right? You can visit with a bunch of them. Mm-hmm. Now I'm kind of limited to who, might just be working out in the area and who I can get a connection through to get to them. But Trey, when he was – a lot of these kids, when they're making their decisions on whether they're going to come out or what they're going to do, they'll get a hold of me, and I'll have a chance to just kind of tell them, hey, this is where I think you would go. This is why you would benefit from coming out. This is why you would benefit from going back to school. I don't make any decisions for him, but I just want to give him information. So I had that conversation with him on the phone previously. Then he was going to be working out with John Beck in L.A., so we set up a breakfast, and I went and had breakfast with him and really spent probably an hour and a half with him. And I left there thinking, okay, this kid is incredibly intelligent. He's got a presence about him, which is something you don't know unless you're with them, right? You got to be in their presence to see if they have a presence, and he does. We talked ball. He's well advanced beyond a kid that's 20 years old. I mean, he's impressive, man. You'll see it when you talk to him. I promise you. You call me after it's done, or we'll talk tomorrow. But I guarantee you, Rich, you'll be impressed by this kid. And I'm left with this thought, which is, Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen were not finished products when they entered the NFL. But what they were incredibly gifted, and they were incredibly intelligent. And those guys just figure it out, man. They figure it out. And that's why I am with this kid. I think he's not there right now, but he's so smart and so talented, I'll bet on him.
So how many prospects call you? Like knock on your door and reach out to you. And again, I know that's not what this is about. Okay,
yeah,
it's about many other aspects of this. But how many do that shows initiative? And I'm biased. Like I literally, when I was looking for a TV job, I got in a suit and a tie and I put my tapes, because that's how long ago it was, in the trunk of my car, and I drove around upstate New York, knocking on news directors' doors looking for a job. Like I front load the interview and I try insatiable desire to find out information. How often? I'm fascinated by this. Is this an outlier for you?
Well, I'll give you a couple other stories. So when I was scouting and we did the Senior Bowl, you always do all these interviews with players, right? So you have your list of guys, you got to interview them. And in the history of doing that over 8 years, and this hundreds and hundreds of interviews, every kid has finished up the interview. I've asked for their phone number. They've given it to me to make sure that I could get a hold of them. We could get a hold of them if we were going to draft them. One kid during 8 years asked for my phone number and then texted me all the time. I've told the story before, and it was with the Eagles and saying, you guys, if you pick me, I'm going to lead this team to Super Bowls. It was Russell Wilson. So that's the first time that somebody did that. True story. Texting me every week. If the Eagles draft me, I'm going to lead not the Super Bowl. I promise you I will lead the Eagles to multiple Super Bowls if they draft me, if you guys draft me. So there's some guys that are wired like that. This year, another great example, Ian Book. I went and we're one of these training facilities in Dallas, Michael Johnson's folks. I think you've done stuff with them before,
yes.
Rich. We'll get to. I want to hear that story. But they have their group that trains, probably 40, 50 guys. So they had me get on a Zoom and talk to them about the combine interviews, what to expect. Zoom interviews with teams because there's no combine this year. So to give some advice, well, we finish up the thing, 40, 50 kids. I don't know how Ian got my phone number, but he obviously asked somebody there that set this up. He got my phone number, texted me, thanked me for speaking to everyone, and then asked me 3 or 4 other questions. So there's, probably the number of kids a year that I will talk with like this is probably 7 to 10. But 9, most of the time, Rich, those are the guys that end up being better than where they're picked because they're just wired a little bit differently.
So are the Eagles going to take Russell? And the Seahawks beat you to the punch? What happened?
Yeah, it's out there. It's very much out there. That was going to be the pick there for the Eagles in the 3rd round, and then Seattle got in front of us, or Seattle was in front of us and took him. So this was the story forever, right? It's the saddest story ever. If you're an Eagles fan, it's an awfully sad story. But then, we ended up taking Nick Foles after that.
Well,
so at least Foles came back, and you get a Super Bowl and a Super Bowl MVP out of that whole deal.
Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.